My name is Lo, and welcome to the Romance Seriously podcast, where I take a serious look at romantic movies. Today's movie is 2023's Make Me Believe, starring Aisha Ayshin Turan and Ekin Koch. My sincere apologies for any and all pronunciations. I'm doing my best, but I do not speak Turkish. Turan stars as Sahra, who is not having a great day. A reckless motorcycle driver cuts her off, her grandmother Aysel won't pick up the phone or answer the door, and her grandmother's friend's grandson, Deniz, played by Koch, is having the same issue with his grandma, Samiha. Oh, and he's also the motorcyclist who cut her off. Sahra, fueled by fear that her grandmother collapsed and with no way to get into her house, decides to just cut the knot by throwing Deniz's bike helmet through the window. Just in time for their grandmas to return from the beach. Sahra and Deniz lecture their grandparents about their irresponsibility. Their grandmas argue that if they didn't claim they were dying, their grandchildren would never come to visit, which, fair enough, but if you're going to manipulate your grandchildren into dropping everything and rushing to see you, at least have the courtesy to, be there when they arrive. Deniz insists he'll stay the night with their grandmothers, as the broken window can't be fixed until the next day, but his macho pride doesn't impress Sahra. Both grandmas have heart-to-hearts with their grandchildren, and both grandkids promise to visit more. It's easy to see the love they both have for the grandmas, but the day-to-day keeps getting in the way. Case in point, Sahra can't take a single day off from her job as a magazine editor without a colleague trying to push her out, plus issues with a photo spread and trying to get an interview with an elusive photographer, Deniz Tunali. Soon the grandma's true plans become clear. They want to set up their grandkids. The fact that Sahra and Deniz clearly have a long history of mutual dislike doesn't seem to be a problem for them. However, Sahra gets a bead on the enigmatic photographer and is so confident in her ability to get an interview with him that she bets her job on it, literally. She and her colleague, Kerem, are both up for promotion and make a bet. Whoever gets the next cover gets the editor-in-chief job. The other quits. Their grandmother's next matchmaking scheme involves trapping Sahra up a tree with a kitten and then calling Deniz to rescue her. I'm not sure how they expected that to help, other than everyone looks hotter while holding cats, which is admittedly sound logic. Unfortunately, the end result is Deniz getting a good knock to the head with a ladder. Not one to let an opportunity go to waste, Aysel sends Sahra over to tend to Deniz's head wound herself. But Sahra gets distracted when she realizes this Deniz is the same Deniz Tunali she literally bet her career on. Deniz and his best friend Ulash and Sahra and her assistant Ahu talk about each other. Both allude to a past together, hinting that their animosity is less, my grandma's friend's obnoxious grandkid, and more, we had a thing as kids and it didn't end well. The next day, Sahra begins her cunning plan of trying to set up to Deniz, only to be thwarted by his utter lack of desire to be anywhere near her. She tries to apologize and replace Deniz's motorcycle helmet, but the replacement turns out to be covered in a flower design, and the old one had sentimental value anyway. Ahu starts following Ulash on Instagram, allowing them to accidentally end up at Ulash's seaside bar. The two multitask, plotting on how to get Ulash and Deniz to join them for drinks while also fixing the upcoming cover. The interview is fine, but the photo shoot was a disaster. Ulash recommends a local spot for a new shoot, recruiting Deniz to take her to scout it. Sounds like Ulash has joined Team Grandma. The location, a rocky outcropping with a seawall, is indeed beautiful, especially as the sun sets over the Aegean Sea. The two take in the sight, with Deniz even snapping some pictures of Sahra. Later, the two share a tense dinner. Sahra apologizes again. This is more sincere, as she asks if this is how it will always be between them. Deniz just leaves without a word, but Sahra follows him, and the two have a quiet chat reminiscing about their past. Just when things look like they might be heading towards a reconciliation, or at least a detente, Sahra pushes Deniz into the sea before jumping in after him. It's a fun moment, but Sahra apparently forgot that, as men's clothing has functional pockets, they keep things like their keys in them, and the two end up walking after said keys get lost in the sea. Deniz complains that everything with Sahra always causes damage, and just wants her to leave him alone. Honestly, it's hard to argue with him, although I would argue that the latter incident wasn't her fault. Ulash and Ahu make out, but Semiha and Aysel are disappointed that Sahara and Deniz haven't done the same. They start to bicker about whose fault it is, but decide the best solution is to play a game with their grandchildren instead. Sahara tries to make peace with the fact that she's probably going to lose her job. Ahu suggests that Ulash might help if he knew the whole story, but Sahara asks if she seriously thinks he'll go against his best friend since childhood for a girl he made out with. The barb clearly lands with more venom than Sahara meant, and though she apologizes, Ahu is definitely hurt. Later, when out in town, Ulash approaches Ahu. It's clear Ahu had taken Sahara's warning to heart and has begun to ice him out, but Sahara regrets her earlier words and encourages Ahu to take a walk with him. Her good deed is immediately punished when two strange men sit themselves at her table now that she's alone. She tries to leave, but they follow her. Deniz, who'd been watching with rightful concern, gets ready to intervene, but Sahara is perfectly capable of fighting them off herself, though I am cringing as she uses her laptop bag as a melee weapon. That shit is breakable! Deniz still manages to get a couple good punches in, but the cops end up having to break it up. Sitting in jail, Deniz thanks Sahara for the chance to see the inside of a cell, but Sahara is having none of that. She had every right to defend herself, but when he threw himself into the mix, it got all muddied up. It eventually comes out that their grandmothers set the whole thing up, but some of the animosity between Deniz and Sahara has burned itself out, and they end up falling asleep on each other's shoulders. After getting released, Deniz offers Sahara a ride home on his bike, but between the speed and some concerning grinding sounds, she makes him pull over. Sahara has hit her breaking point with Deniz and his jabs towards her, yelling that he's insensitive and selfish, never even thinking that other people have reasons for acting the way they do. Sahara screams that her family died in a bike accident, and that's why she was scared. But instead of slowing down or even asking why she was concerned, Deniz just sped up to fuck with her. She admits that she's a chicken, but he's an asshole. So now that that's established, can they go back to being friends? Deniz simply says they weren't ever friends before kissing her. They sit by the road, admiring the view and asking about the contradictions in each other. They both admit to normally being very controlled people, but something about the other one breaks down their usual systems, and they end up kissing each other or shoving people into the sea. Deniz asks Sahara why she's single, but she evades and asks him about the sentimental helmet. Deniz admits that he bought it for her in the long-ago, alluded-to but not explained summer. He just didn't have the chance to give it to her. Sahara muses that, in that case, she got what was meant for her all along. Aysel, Semiha, Ahu, and Ulash are having dinner. Ahu and Ulash ask why the grannies are doing this. They know their grandchildren. They cannot be surprised at how badly things have gone, and maybe it's time to give up. But the grandmas are firm in their resolve to get them together, or at least make peace. The fighting is driving them mad, too. Once Sahara and Deniz return, Ahu and Ulash immediately figure out something happened between them. But Ahu is more focused on the photo shoot and interview coming up, especially as Sahara hasn't actually asked Deniz yet. Kerem continues to be a thorn in Sahara's side. She knows he's up to something, but has no idea what and can only seethe in rage. Deniz, seeing Sahara's stress, takes her out for an afternoon exploring the town. They end up at a secluded cove, one with a wooden dinghy whose photograph clues Sahara into Deniz the Menace, being Deniz the renowned photographer. Sahara says that Deniz shouldn't have let her immaturity ruin a spot he liked, but Deniz stands by the bad memories. The truth of that summer tumbles out. Sahara kept bringing other people to this space, which had previously been just theirs, and started dating another boy when she knew Deniz liked her, so he completely froze her out. Sahara can't believe he's holding a grudge over something so petty, especially as he never told her he liked her. Deniz argued that he would have if she wasn't already dating someone, but Sahara feels she did plenty to get his attention and got Jack, so... Given that all this went down when they were 15, they both agree to let it go and move forward as functional adults. Deniz asks why she stopped visiting, and it turns out that both of her parents died in a bike crash on their anniversary. One she feels guilty for, as her parents were only on the bike because she didn't feel well and was staying home that night. Once she began visiting again, he was gone. His parents, meanwhile, moved abroad that winter and divorced not long after, leading him and his parents to all separate, and Deniz admits they're happier now that they're all apart. Sahara asks why he turned down a prestigious industry award, and Deniz explains that he's not interested in the awards, but the effect his work has on people. Not sure how the latter precludes the former, but okay. Deniz takes Sahara to his home and shows her a jar of rocks, each one with a place written on it, a reference to a habit Sahara had as kids. He'd been collecting them for 15 years for her. They share a bottle of wine under the stars, eventually falling asleep. The next morning, Sahara wakes up to find Deniz making a model house, one he dreamed up in college for if he ever had a family but never finished. There was no rush, after all. Sahara asks why, if he considers the reward for his work people's reactions. He keeps everyone out by not doing interviews or appearances, but Deniz shrugs it off. The photos tell the story. He doesn't need to ruin his privacy for that. Besides, all he has to do to maintain his allure is not show up at exhibitions saying, "Hi, I'm the photographer," and let Ulash, who used to be in advertising, do all the work. After a day at the beach, they have a romantic dinner. Or at least, the romantic dinner gets made before Sahara and Deniz get distracted. They get woken up the next morning by a call from Ahu. The photographer for the shoot had a last-minute job out of town, and while they all know it was Kerem, they can't prove it. Deniz offers to step in, and while Sahara originally says no, Deniz insists. He did a lot of commercial work for when Ulash was still in advertising. Just don't use his name, pare down the crew, and have everyone sign an NDA. At the photo shoot, Sahara admits she's given up on asking Deniz for an interview. Now that she knows why he doesn't give them, pushing for one and leaning on their personal relationship to do so feels wrong, which, yeah, not using your SO is dating 101. Ahu disagrees, not wanting Sahara's years of work to go down the drain, but especially because it's not just Sahara that this screws over, but her team. Sahara, though, holds firm and refuses to put Deniz in that position. Unfortunately, Kerem shows up in person to crash the shoot. He congratulates Sahara, saying he knew she was ambitious, but sleeping with the talent really takes it to the next level. Deniz overhears and puts everything together. He asks Sahara if everything between them was just for an interview. Sahara correctly says no, that it started that way but she changed her mind, but Deniz is too angry to listen. He tells her now she has everything she needs for an article and walks away. Days later, Sahara is finishing the article on Deniz. She's clearly not happy about it, but if it will protect her team from Kerem, why not? At work, she receives plenty of accolades and the editor-in-chief position, but the victory is hollow. Sahara digs through Deniz's shell jar and finds one from their cove, from that summer years ago. Ulash, meanwhile, has gotten fed up with Deniz moping over Sarah. He brings him a copy of the magazine, direct from Ahu. Notably, the cover has been changed from a photo of Deniz to one he took of Sahara. Ulash remarks that it's a good thing Deniz didn't give his own interview. He wouldn't have described himself anywhere near as well as Sahara did. Sahara gives a glowing praise of Deniz, respecting his desire for anonymity and crediting his work with reminding her of who she was before the complications of adult life began getting in the way. Sahara is moping herself, having to be dragged by Ahu to her own celebration dinner. She had a good reason, though. Halfway through, who should walk in but Deniz and Ulash? Apparently our beta couple got fed up with their besties' dramatics. Sahara asks why he didn't believe she was in love with him before. Deniz answers with a kiss, which is sweet and all, but not actually an answer. I am incredibly confused by this movie. There are so many details that make sense for 5 seconds and then just fall apart. Most notably, how does Deniz not know that his grandmother's best friend's child and spouse died? Especially if he was pining after Sahara. Did that not get mentioned? Ever? I mean, did Semiha not say, "I'm busy on Thursday, that's the funeral"? If nothing else, I would expect Semiha to have made the Turkish version of morning casseroles. How does this death not get mentioned ever in 15 years? It just does not make sense. I mean, then there's Deniz. I get valuing public reception over critical acclaim, but you can have both? Then there's Sahara and Deniz. I like Sahara, and I like Deniz. I don't think either of them are really wrong throughout the movie. There's nothing wrong with Sahara trying to land a massive interview, or even making a bet over that interview. Hell, I'd argue there's nothing wrong with trying to take advantage of a casual acquaintanceship, especially when she doesn't know why Deniz doesn't do interviews. That's just networking. But once she does know, and the relationship does become more personal, Sahara backs off because now it would be crossing a line. That's a perfectly fine sense of ethics. And let's be honest here, a lot of the chaos around her isn't actually her fault, but her grandma's. Same with Denny's. Do I think he's a little overboard with the privacy? Yeah, but it works for him, so whatever. I don't blame him for wanting distance from Sahara and the hurt she represents, both past and present. He doesn't fight or push back, he just leaves situations he doesn't want to be in, which, valid. I will say that he does get the blame for the childhood romance going poorly because Sahara was absolutely right, she is not a mind reader, but he's clearly grown since then. My issue is that I don't like Sahara and Denny's together. They are not compatible, and contrary to what the Beatles said, love is not all you need. Sahara's high energy and jumps headfirst into every situation. Denny's is calmer and prefers to step back. He travels all over the world for work, and she's now the editor-in-chief, so she'll be sticking around Istanbul. Moreover, their entire relationship feels like it's fueled solely by nostalgic memories and grandmotherly nagging. And I'm sorry, a kiss does not answer the very valid question, why did you believe a random person who you have been told by multiple people is an asshole, and is acting like an asshole, over your girlfriend? I just do not see this relationship working out. Also, Aysel and Semiha vanish once Denny's and Sahara get together, which is odd. I mean, surely they'd like to take a victory lap. Or what if their breakup blows back into their grandmother's friendship? Given how much of this movie's first and second acts are driven by them, their absence from the third is notable. That said, Make Me Believe is not a movie built for logic. It is a movie built for brains-off escapism from the humdrum of the everyday, and it does that pretty well. The story zips along at a good pace, quick enough that you probably won't notice a lot of the plot holes unless you're, I don't know, pausing to take notes for a podcast. Otherwise, it goes down like pixie sticks. Pure sugar, and that's how we like it. Far more importantly, Make Me Believe is visually stunning. God, this movie looks beautiful. This is the fantasy you really want from a romance. A gorgeous setting on the Aegean Sea, cute clothes, delicious food. The homemade pastry is so crisp that you can hear the crunch. Multiple times watching this movie, I started looking up Turkish restaurants only to be thwarted. It nails the rustic beach getaway vibe. There's a lot of wood, and trees, and stone. There's late-night markets and ruins and folksy background music. The location scout understood the assignment. Everything is gorgeous, but not in an overly perfect artificial way. Instead, these places look real. I can find that outcropping, that restaurant, those houses, and maybe a taste of the peace that Make Me Believe conveys. That's only amplified because it is shot absolutely beautifully. There's a lot of wide shots showing everyone alone against the beautiful, sprawling Turkish landscape. Beaches, rocks, outcroppings, decks, roads, everything is just fabulous to look at in a way that makes you want to be there so badly. Then you add in the costuming. Everyone in this cast is attractive, and the collection of shorts, crop tops, and tight-fitting button-downs just emphasizes it further. Add in the sun and the sea, and this is a movie that is just fun to look at. It's also got a few good moments of refreshingly realistic outcomes. How many times in movies have people ended up in water without losing their keys, their phones, their wallets, their headphones? It's good to see finally someone point out that pockets are in fact used. One of my favorite details is the name of the magazine Sahara works for. Intense Man magazine. I don't know if that's one of those things that sounds a lot better in its native language and just loses something in translation, but as an English speaker, it cracks me up. At the end of the day, Make Me Believe is not a great movie, but it's not trying to be. If you're in the mood for a thwarted childhood crush second chance romance with an enemies to lovers twist, it'll do the job. If you just want to astrally project yourself to a Mediterranean beach, it's even better. Just be prepared to start Googling for Turkish restaurants halfway through. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, review, all those good things. Or find me at the Romance Seriously Podcast at gmail.com or romancesrsly on Twitter. See you next time!